Woolly rhinos are generally overshadowed by their more popular contemporaries, the mammoths. In part this may be because we know less about them, as there are fewer preserved individuals in the fossil record, but today they are getting the spotlight. In a recent study, Dr. Guðjónsdóttir and her colleagues analyzed the DNA of a woolly rhino preserved in the most unusual place, inside the stomach of a wolf puppy. And this woolly rhino happened to have died just before the species finally went extinct around 14,000 years ago, providing unprecedented insights into their extinction. Extinction is when a species completely disappears from the Earth. It's a natural background process with relatively even timing. Around every million years, about 10% of all species go extinct. Every 10 million years, 65%, and by 100 million years, 75% of species are gone. However, there are outliers, known as mass extinctions, where 75% or more species go extinct in only 2 million years or less. Earth has experienced 5 such events, the most famous being the end Cretaceous 65 million years ago that killed off the dinosaurs. Currently, some scientists say we're experiencing a 6th mass extinction. This biodiversity crisis has made it increasingly important to understand what drives population declines and extinction. Typically, before going extinct, a species will show a reduction in population size and geographic range, making it more vulnerable to environmental, demographic, and genetic events. At the genetic level, smaller populations are more vulnerable to genetic drift and increased inbreeding. This leads to a loss of genetic diversity, which increases genetic load, which is the accumulation of harmful mutations that can reduce health and survival, such as sickle cell anemia or heart defects. To track these changes, scientists need temporally spaced genomic data from different time periods. This helps them understand how a species declined towards extinction. One species that will benefit from this analysis is the woolly rhino. In life, these creatures were 10 to 12 feet long and 6.6 feet tall at the shoulder. They weighed approximately 4,000 to 6,000 pounds and sported 2 massive horns, the larger of which grew to 24 inches. From fossils and cave art, we know they had long, thick fur, short, thick legs, small ears, and a stocky build. They ranged across Eurasia from Scotland to Spain and as far as South Korea, but they never reached North America. Around 35,000 years ago, their range gradually contracted eastward due to unfavorable environmental conditions in Western Europe, and by 14,000 years ago, they had gone extinct. Previous paleogenomic analysis in individuals dated to 48,000 and 18,400 years ago found no indication of recent inbreeding. Based on these individuals, it was concluded that the woolly rhino likely experienced a rapid decline sometime after 18,400 years ago, possibly associated with the Billing Alero interstatal, the first abrupt northern hemisphere warming period of the last deglaciation. However, the results remain speculative. Without woolly rhino remains dated closer to the time of extinction, there is no way to test for genetic diversity, but sometimes answers are found where you least expect them. In this case, in the stomach of a mummified wolf puppy found in northeastern Siberia. During dissection of the wolf specimen, a piece of intact mummified tissue was discovered from something the puppy had consumed shortly before its death. DNA extraction revealed that the remains came from a woolly rhino that had died 14,400 years ago, making it one of the youngest known woolly rhino remains. The researchers called it 2mod14K. Researchers analyzed the DNA from 2mod14K to examine how the woolly rhino's population size changed over time and its genetic diversity. They also looked for signs of inbreeding and genetic load by categorizing mutations as harmless or damaging. This data was then compared with the 2 previously published woolly rhino genomes from the same region, creating a genetic sample spanning 3 time periods. All 3 woolly rhino individuals showed similar patterns, a steep decline in the population during the early Pleistocene, followed by relative stability in the middle Pleistocene. The most significant find was that no population decline seemed to have occurred close to extinction. 2mod14K showed no signs of reduced genetic diversity, increased inbreeding, or elevated genetic load compared to much older samples. For example, the 18,500-year-old individual and the 14,400-year-old individuals have nearly identical genetic diversity and inbreeding levels, suggesting no dramatic population crash occurred between them. Given this information, the researchers suggest that any genomic change associated with the species extinction must have occurred during the last few hundred years of the species' existence, or that the extinction was so rapid that it's undetectable in the genome. The woolly rhino's story reminds us that extinction doesn't always follow the patterns we expect. Sometimes a species can appear genetically healthy right up until the very end. This was Archaeology Tea House. If the story was your cup of tea, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to never miss a video.